Hi, first graders. Okay, so this is Friday's daily language video. Yesterday, you completed day 1 of this paper. Today, we're completing the bottom half. So I am actually going to share my screen so you can see what I'm doing up close. One downside of sharing my screen is that I have to use my computer's drawing tool to write. So it's a little messy. You can read it, but I expect that your handwriting is going to be much neater than mine. So let me share my screen. We'll bring it up. Day 2, so make sure you're on the right page, day 2. And let's start by reading the directions. It says, fix the sentences. One bird sitted in its nest in the tree. Let's try and read that whole thing one more time. And if you didn't read it with me, I would like you to read it with me this time. One bird sitted in its nest in the tree. There are 2 mistakes in that sentence. One, there's a word that just doesn't sound right. It's not the correct word. And then there's another word that's the wrong spelling of the word. So I'll read it one more time. And then what I'd like you to do is see if you can find the 2 mistakes before I do. So I will go over them in a minute, but I want you to take a few seconds to see if you can figure out what the 2 mistakes are. One bird sitted in its nest in the tree. So a few seconds, see if you can find the 2 mistakes. All right, let's give it a shot. One bird sitted in its nest in the tree. That word sitted, that doesn't sound like a word to me. It sounds kind of like a word, like the word sit, but sitted is not the correct way to say that something was sitting. So it's actually one bird sat, because we're talking about something that already happened. That's called the past tense. And the ED makes me think that the person who wrote the sentence meant the past tense. So we can say one bird sat. So we're going to cross out the word sitted, and we're going to write sat above it. Nice and neat. And I'm going to do my best to make mine nice and neat with my mouse pad. Okay, so I'm going to give you a second to cross out the word sitted and write sat above it, just like I did, but a little bit neater. Okay, if you need more time, pause the video and then start it when you're ready. Okay, but we're going to go move on to the second mistake in this sentence. If you thought it had something to do with this first word, one, go ahead and pat yourself on the back. This WON, one, is like a team won a basketball game. But we're not talking about that kind of one in our sentence. Our sentence says, one bird sat in its nest in the tree. One bird sat in its nest in the tree. So we're actually talking about the number 1. So we're going to cross out that way. That's the wrong way to spell this kind of one. And we're going to write the number word. We're also going to make sure that we do a capital at the beginning, because 1 is the first word in the sentence. So it's O-N-E, 1. Okay. So those are the 2 mistakes in that sentence. What I'm going to have you do is neatly rewrite that sentence on this line. If you need more room, go ahead and flip it on the flip over your paper and you can continue your sentence there, or you can squeeze it in right above number 2. Okay, so I'm going to have you pause the video, Rewrite that sentence nice and neat, and when you're done, you can start the video again. All right, let's move on to number 2. Read the words with me if you can. A lot of you can. Are you ready? 2 birds sat on the roof of our house. So again, there's 2 mistakes in this sentence, and we have a spelling mistake and then another word that doesn't sound right in this sentence. So I'm going to give you a few seconds to figure out those mistakes. I'll read it one more time. 2 birds sat on the roof of our house. So 2 mistakes. See if you can find them. Okay, if you want more time to find them, pause the video. If not, we're going to keep going. So 2 birds sat. So the first thing that jumps out in my mind is that we're talking about more than 1 bird. We're talking about 2 birds. And when you're talking about 2 birds, then when you're talking about more of one thing, then you need to add the suffix s on the end of the word. So 2 bird would become 2 birds. Birds. So it sounds like a Z, but it's actually an S. Sometimes an S at the end of a word can sound like a Z, but it's a suffix S is what we call it. So we're actually going to, I'm going to do a little caret. I'm going to put an S right above there, nice and neat, or as neat as I can on my computer. Hopefully yours is a little bit neater. Then we're going to look for that second mistake. So now we have the S, so 2 birds sat on the roof of our house. This says R, but it's actually the wrong one. Just like up here, this was the wrong word. This is also the wrong word. So we're looking for the word R, but O-U-R, as in something that belongs to all of us, our house. So we're going to cross out R, and we're going to write O-U-R. O-U-R, our. That's the correct way to say our house. So let's read that sentence with the corrections one more time. 2 birds sat on the roof of our house. That is so much better. Okay, so what you're going to do now is rewrite that sentence with the corrections nice and neatly on this line. If you need more space, you can squeeze in right here or flip your paper over and continue your sentence on the other side. Don't forget to include the capital, and don't forget to include the period and the corrections. Okay, so pause the video, write your sentence, and then we'll keep going for number 3. Okay, press play when you're ready to start again. All right, let's move on to number 3. It says, use man or men to finish the sentence. Now the word man, is that talking about one man or more than one man? Yeah, it's talking about one man. Men, M-E-N, men. Is that talking about one man or more than one man? Yeah, that's talking about more than one. So just like in our second sentence, we added an S to talk about more than one. This is another way to say more than one, but it actually, the word changes a little bit. We go from man to men. So let's see what our sentence is and see which one fits. 2 rode their bikes. Let's try each word and see which one makes the most sense. 2 man rode their bikes. That doesn't really make sense because man means one and we're talking about 2. So let's try men. 2 men rode their bikes. Does that make sense? Yeah, it does. So we are actually going to write the word men on this line, nice and neat, neater than me. Ooh, that ends a little funky. All right, if you need more time to do that, go ahead and pause the video. If not, we're going to keep going. It says, write one more word that is spelled with U-N-G. U-N-G says ung. Ung. We're going to learn about that in foundations in a few weeks. Ung. Let's read the first word. We know this says ung, so we're going to add the H sound in front of it. Ung. Hung. Okay, let's read this word. We have ung with an S sound in front of it. Sung. Hung. Sung. What's another word that ends in ung? So if you're having trouble thinking of one, and I had trouble thinking of one, think about letters that you could put in front of ung that make a word that you recognize. Okay, so maybe try A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So I actually can think of a word that has an L in front of ung. So let's put it all together. If we have L, U, N, G, it says ung, lung. A lung is something that helps you breathe, one of your body parts that helps you breathe. In our chest, we have 2 lungs. So if we say lung, we're talking about one lung. If you have a different word there that ends in ung, go ahead and write that. You do not need to write lung, but you do have to have something there. Okay? So that is the end of our daily language. If you need help after this video, go ahead and pop into our office hours or shoot me an email if you're not sure. When you're finished, please take a picture of this and upload it to Seesaw so I can see that you did it. And then we'll see you back on Thursday. Bye, guys.